This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Welcome to the Ghee Spot Podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Silcox, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us for conversations around sex, spirit, and all things self-care. All things self-care. All things self-care.
This is a journey into sound.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
You are a Ghee Spot Podcast with Katie Silcox.
Oh my Lord, have any of you out there ever felt criticized? How does that feel? We're going to be talking about this today. We're going to talk about Ayurveda and what it has to say about this, and what spirituality has to say about this, and what some of the science and research has to say about dealing with critics, a really important topic. Before we dive in, Ahara Ghee, our sponsor, they make organic ghee in 6 incredible flavors to make cooking whole, simple foods easy and delicious. Make Ahara Ghee the base of all your Ayurvedic cooking. It is founded and run by trained Ayurvedic practitioners and uses live cultured organic butter mindfully sourced in the USA. If you are not using cultured ghee, it is just clarified butter. Ahara uses artisanal practices and cooks small batches over an open flame just like you would do it on your stove. Taste and feel the cultured ghee difference. You guys know I love it. Ghee Spot listeners get $5 off their purchase when you enter the coupon GheeSpot at checkout. So go to www.iloveghee.com and click Shop Ghee at the top. It's also brought to you today by Banyan Botanicals. Today I am featuring their incredible product, Stress Ease, which we all need. And you can get 15% off on Stress Ease by visiting the hyperlink we're going to provide to you guys in the show notes. What else? They're offering us a beautiful free dosha quiz. So if you're curious about your unique Ayurvedic mind-body constitution, you can take Banyan's free dosha quiz in the show notes. That's a really good one, especially if you're a beginner. Check it out. And now on to our topic. All right, sisters and misters listening out there. You are everything wrong with Ayurveda in this country. I hate your marketing. You have a huge ego. Why do you talk so much about sex? You are a white supremacist. You are ruining traditional Ayurveda. I am deeply offended by you. Katie Silcox hates fat people. You guys, that was a toxic troll vomit just there for you. I thought I'd start the show with just some notes from my experience of people coming at me, right? These are examples of trolls. That is very different than wholehearted criticism. So I want to talk a little bit about dealing with critics, dealing with haters, because haters gonna hate, and that is very different than working with loving criticism. Those are some things that people have said to me during my career, and I'm really proud of what I have and am doing with Ayurveda. We just started our 3rd Ayurveda school last week, and we had so many women from all over the world, and it's just this incredible event that happens every Wednesday, and in our level 2 every Tuesday. It's just this incredible event, right? And I know that it's happening because partially, a part of it is that I've been willing to be brave and be myself. And when you are brave and when you are bold and when you are being yourself, let me tell you, people are going to say things and it's going to trigger people. One of the things that I've found is that the more bold and brave and big and beautiful that I let myself be, the more it triggers other people that haven't really fully stepped into their big boldness. And that's been a really tough lesson, because if you're listening out there, you may identify with this. I love people, and I really, really do. And I want people to love me, and I want everyone to be happy. And those are just things that are impossible. So, whether you work in the public eye or not, I think today's talk will be important and valuable. One of the core peace principles from the native tradition, Jake Swamp, a native elder, one of the peace principles that all human societies and groups and tribes of people want is to love and be loved. And that's really important when we think about critics and online trolling and even just the way that we're expressing our voice online. It has been my experience that the online world is one of the least useful forums for expression and for real change. And the reason why is it comes to one of these core principles of Tantra, which is state over story. The native tradition calls it conduct over content. In other words, it's the energy that you emanate over the intellect and words and ideas. And a state, it's really hard for us to convey our emotional or our energetic state in the context of the online world. That's one of the reasons we have Shakti school and we meet live, and you can interact in a way that is really that aspect of our being is available. Receiving criticism when we can't experience someone's actual energetic state is fruitless. One of the biggest lessons that I've learned is to take feedback only if it's coming from a place of heartfulness. There's a difference between loving criticism versus a deliberate personal attack or bullying. There's that incredible, beautiful tantric scientist that you may have heard of. I don't know if any of you out there have heard of Brené Brown. Just kidding. I know you all have. And that famous talk that she gave that we will include in the show notes, where she speaks of the Theodore Roosevelt quote about the critics being not those really that you need to listen to if they're not coming from a place of love, right? She says that people will find a million reasons to tear down your work. And I have found that very true. And I've also found in my life this way in which when people tear down your work, it can really lead to this desire to not do it anymore, right? And that's one of the worst things that we can do. So I'm going to read the quote in a moment, but she speaks about loving criticism versus deliberate personal attacks. And who really has earned the right to criticize you? Who has earned the right to criticize you? And those really should be people in your life that have gained your trust and respect. And I love this idea of really allowing those who critique you to be ones who have your best interest at heart. And so I think about friends, and especially, my employees who are also friends that are working with me every day. Those are the people that have earned the right to give me loving feedback. My mentors are the people who have earned the right to give me loving feedback. My closest friends, my mother, my brother, my sister, people in my life who are invested in my loving success. Those are the people who I really need to be listening to, not random dudes in Northern California that consider themselves authorities on Ayurveda that send me their Facebook messages that I've never met in my life. Like those people. And I hope you can hear, I've worked with that and I've done a lot of forgiveness to those people. And, it still hurts. And Brené Brown talks about that. So, the quote that really changed her life, I want to read to you guys today. And she said, "It's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. And of course, that was Theodore Roosevelt, The Man in the Arena, 1910, right? That quote. And I really lean into that. So I'm going to include a link to Brené's talk on critics in the show notes. If you haven't listened to it, it's incredible. Really, really important. And I mean, this woman vibrates at such a beautiful level, high level, and she's received so much attack. And many of the attacks very similar to the ones that I've received. And it's so interesting to me. And I think many of you out there who are daring greatly, who want to put yourself out there, who want to change the world, who want to be a voice in your community, who want to just express who you are, this incredible, unique emanation of the divine. When we express that individuality, there will always be somebody that has a problem with it. So just really remember that. There's a difference between loving criticism that comes from a state of kindness than a deliberate personal attack that comes from a place of manipulation or bullying or just unprocessed emotion on the part of the person delivering the quote critique. So, how do we become strong in this? Well, when you get clear, or when I get clear, I'll say, when I've become more and more clear on who I am and what my values are and what I stand for, these critiques, they still hurt, of course, but they touch me less and less. Today I come to you on this podcast just super clear of my desire for transformation as a soul walking this earth walk. I want to be closer to Mother Nature. I want to heal my digestive system. I want to reduce the inflammatory processes in my body that turn on epigenetic markers for disease. I want to turn off the disease markers. I want to purify the karmas of my lineage. I want to know spiritual love and worldly love. I want to bring people together of all races, classes, backgrounds in our common link that we all want to be healthy and happy and radiant and yes, sexy. I want to bring people together. I want unity, 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 while at the same time absolute celebration of difference and diversity and a complete and total humble tenderness around each individual's unique challenge and trauma and lineage karma. This is what I want for Shakti School. It's what I want for myself. And so as I get clearer and clearer on that, and I put Martin Luther King and Jesus Christ and Gandhi and Mother Teresa and like all of these beings on the altar to remind me, the more those critiques harm me less and less. Brené Brown says that when you show up to be seen in any public way, and this doesn't mean that you're an influencer on social media or a famous person, it just means you're showing up to be seen. You will get your ass kicked, she says. If you aren't really coming from a place of deep love, I love what Brené Brown says. She says, I'm just not really interested in your feedback. And I really think the importance of having like a love squad that you know can hold you in that tender, gentle thing that it is to be critiqued. So I want to a little bit talk about the deeper Tantra around this. So, one of the power, and this is not for everyone, right? Like Tantra is a very potent practice for utilizing what seems to be coming at you from the outside, using it as a portal into deeper alchemy and transformation and self-awareness. And so one of the ways that we can also work with trolls and critics that we have not invited in, but who are here is one of my favorite teachers, Michael Brown, says, if you are charged, you're not in charge. And so we can all feel that little charge that hurts us when someone criticizes us. Well, that's natural. That's the human being. We are wired for approval. We are tribal people. We are group beings. Out of all of the animals, human beings are wired for connection. We're wired for feedback. We're incredibly sensitive to what other people say about us. Reputation, all of these things around shame are hugely human. And that's not going to change. If people talking shit about you does not bother you at all, you're probably sociopathic. Like, it's normal that it stings when anyone in our group is harming us or saying something negative about us. And yet we're also wired for individuality. And sometimes those two things can press up against one another. And that's why it's really important that we have those who are criticizing us be people that we really, really love and trust. Sometimes we get feedback from people that I've never met, often on the internet or email, that we've never met, who aren't really doing a business or a organization like we are. And so another thing, in addition to like just people who have earned the right to give you feedback, need to be people who may have had a stake in the game that you're working in themselves. So if someone else who had worked in this industry, wrote us, that would be a different thing than someone who really hasn't. And I don't mean that to be mean or rude. It's just hard to take critique from someone who's maybe 21 years old, who's never run a business in her life, and who just has an opinion that she's launching. And so I also think it's important just to really hold your tongue and ask yourself, am I the person to best give this feedback? And oftentimes it might not be that person, and we can really trust that feedback will come from the right place. From a tantric perspective, let's say someone does offer you unsolicited feedback, which we get quite often, and now I don't really get much of it. It gets filtered out by my team. But when we have gotten that, one of the most beautiful practices you can do is to see this in what the shamanic tradition calls the petty tyrant. The petty tyrant. It's, I remember getting an email from someone probably 6 years ago, 5 years ago, and I read it, and it hurt my feelings in that moment. It charged me. I'd written this beautiful newsletter. I was so proud of it. We love the fact that here at Shakti School, we celebrate sexuality and sensuality. And I got an email back from a woman, and she's, to her own admission, she said, I'm in my 60s, and I find your emails to be really inappropriately sexual. And, if you've been getting my emails, they're really not in any way, shape, or form inappropriately sexual. They're completely sweet. And even if they were, like she said, I'm wondering if you could deliver your message without the mention of sexuality. This is not something that's relevant to me at my age. And at first it stung and it annoyed me and I took it personally, but then I was like, wow, this email is revealing so much more about her than me. She's in her 60s. She's getting this email from these young women talking about sex, and she hates it. Like, what does that say about this person? And I'm sorry. I wish that she was more tuned into her sensuality. I wish that she had someone loving her and touching her. And it just filled my heart with sort of a sweet compassion rather than an annoyance. So the first thing we can do from the tantric perspective is just pause, kind of put up a good boundary and say, what is this comment? What is this feedback, whether it be online or in person, saying about the person who's delivering it? Because often it reveals more about them than you. And then your state can remain compassionate. Now, what if that woman wrote me that email today? I would immediately be more compassionate, but I would still have that little, I'm a pitta, little fiery thing like, who does this lady think she is? Why is she writing me? And that would enable me to work on my stuff, which is when you're charged, you're not in charge. And so what is here for me? Thank you, petty tyrant, for writing me this email that's revealed to me the way that I still have some places to grow, where I can still see moments where I can still grow my ability to be less reactive, right? So one of the things in one of my and early mentors had me do was write down everything that this person is doing to you. Oh my God, this person doesn't know me and she's attacking me. Oh my God, this person is so annoying. This person, how dare she have an opinion on my content? Like, I just write down everything that this person is supposedly, quote, doing to you. And then go back and take out her name or this person and you write in, there's a part of me that. There is a part of me that unconsciously is attacking me. There is a part of me that thinks my sexuality is too much. There is a part of me, right? And being able to flip it is one of the most empowering things that you can do. Now, what this doesn't mean is that you take their criticism personally. What this doesn't mean is that you let them in your house. What this doesn't mean is that you don't get good employees that filter out the spam. What this doesn't mean is that you don't have good boundaries. What it does mean is when these petty tyrants do come into your field, you welcome them. Like Rumi says, every emotion like a guest into your house. And that is one of the most challenging tantric practices that exists on this planet. We are hardwired to want to blame the outside world. I really believe that so much of what's going on the internet is not useful. These Yelp reviews, these Instagram comments, these Facebook posts, you guys, they are a way in which the collective is unsuccessfully channeling grief, rage, and fear, rather than processing them and metabolizing them in our own body-mind. I, for one, do not use the internet as a way to communicate. And I encourage you not to do it either. You know, it's a great place. Like in Shakti school, we have our Facebook groups, and it's a great place to share information and links and in good vibes, right? In good vibes. It's a wonderful place for that kind of connection and sharing. It's a terrible place for these deeper wounded patterns to metabolize and process themselves. As one of my teachers says, we are all working with our own weapons of mass destruction, and it's our emotions. And the more we don't launch those bombs out into the world, the better. I hope that this talk on critics, haters gonna hate, served you a little bit. And I hope it encourages you to set good boundaries, to really create a circle of safety of the people that have earned the right to criticize and give you loving critique, and to build up good boundaries with those people online that just haven't earned the right, or maybe offline. I look forward to more with you guys this year as we grow in Shakti school. And if you aren't in Ayurveda school and you're like, what is going on? We don't start that again until next year. But as always, we have the Lineage of Love, a monthly subscription program. It's only $18 a month. You get a class, you get a meditation with me, and one live call with me every single month, where we download more and beautiful practices to keep us balanced, centered, and as anti-inflamed as possible. All right, beauties, have a great day.
फूटे फूल